Welcome back, pilots. Today, I have a review of a small but mighty 1S drone, the Flywoo Firefly Nano Baby 1S V3. Whether you're into microclass FPV, cinematic B-roll, or you're simply looking for a drone that you can throw in your backpack and fly anywhere, this might be your ticket. This is the first 1S drone in my personal fleet, but it's the third iteration of this design for Flywoo, so it must be a popular build. I've had it for roughly a week, flown it extensively, crashed it, changed the props, and then flown it outdoors in conditions that typically would thwart other whoops. Is this the best bind and fly drone in 2025? Or does it suffer from many of the same issues as other O4 Lite builds? Let's dig in and find out. I'm going to start with the specs and what come in the box. This is a 1S build, which means the batteries are very small and light. They're about the same size as a pack of chewing gum, at least here in the United States. Flywoo lists the weight of the Firefly 18 at 25.9 grams without the O4 Lite system, which is a bit odd to me because the F405 flight controller and ESC are designed to complement a digital video transmission system like the O4 Lite or Walk Snail or HD0. In a real-world takeoff scenario, mine weighs 55 grams with a 500 milliamp hour battery. Now, while that weight places this aircraft in a completely different category than sub 50 gram whoops, it's also only 2 grams difference on the lighter side than a similarly built Meteor 75 Pro. And if we're talking about weight limits, one doesn't reasonably exist until 250 grams. Both aircraft are significantly light enough to forego registration in any country if flown recreationally. In the box, you get the drone, 2 sets of props, interchangeable TPU battery mounts for 450, 750, and 1000 milliamp hour batteries, a hardware kit including a screwdriver, and a set of prop guards which, when installed, add just 1 gram. The motors are 10002 Robo 19800 kV and are connected to a Flywoo Goku F405 HD flight controller with a built-in 5-volt regulator, ELRS receiver, and 5 amp ESC. The stack is mounted on a 2mm carbon unibody baseplate, which is a major step up in performance for micro drones. Typically, I have to configure selective filtering to eliminate noise peaks that result from the plastic frames in other whoops, but that's not the case here. It flies and indeed responds to tuning very similarly to my 2.5-inch carbon-framed Cinewhoops. During my test flights, winds ranged from 8 to 35 miles per hour. I still recommend that you fly this in less than 15 mile per hour winds, which is a lot for a whoop. But you can take this out and have a blast on any given Colorado afternoon. And that was what I wanted out of a drone. Now, for all of the flights you're seeing here, I'm flying either a 500 or 550 milliamp hour battery. Some of them are Rotor Riot fuel cell branded. The rest, my favorite ones in that same capacity size, are Beta FPV Lava 550 batteries. But I also flew Flywoo's Explorer 1000 milliamp hour 1S batteries as well. And I'll put flight times up here on the screen. In short, if you're ripping this around the park, you can expect about 1.5 to 2 minutes on a 500 milliamp hour battery. In the same ripping flight style, you can expect about 4 minutes on the 1000 milliamp hour battery. And if you're cruising, expect to get up to 7. In real world testing, I was able to consistently get about 6.5 minutes of flight time using the 40mm HQ tri-blade props and the 1000 milliamp hour Flywoo Explorer 1S batteries. Occasionally, I was able to get a little bit more than that, but not often, and I suspect it was down to the damping that the aircraft was doing and the thinner air here in Colorado. So one of the things that I had to do when I built out the Meteor 75 Pro was create a custom TPU canopy to eliminate jello. What the actual cause was, I don't know. Whether it was Beta FPV's soft mount was simply too soft, or the canopy transmitted a lot more vibration than they thought. Either one, it required solution. The Firefly doesn't have such a problem. I was able to fly out of the box in full auto, and as you can see, there's no jello in any of this footage. Sometimes you might see additional damping as the aircraft fights against the wind, but that's not jello. For a lot of pilots, these micro drones are an easy way to get in the air quickly and to determine whether you like the physical aspect of this hobby or not. And the Firefly brings not only incredibly high performance flight to the table, but near cinematic video performance. Before I installed the prop guards and took it inside, I decided to try some light freestyle. And I wasn't entirely surprised to find that it was a bit underpowered with the included bi-blade props. This is something that other reviewers had mentioned, and so when I ordered the aircraft, I also ordered some tri-blade props in the appropriate size, and as expected, changing out the props completely changed the flight profile, and it became far more freestyle capable. Flywoo has also marketed the smaller tri-bladed version of this as a freestyle quad for quite some time. So it made sense that they would allow you to change the props on the 18 to get a little bit more performance, and that's exactly what I did. After I changed the tri-blade props, I stopped tapping the ground and freestyle became much easier. It also came with the added benefit of additional wind resistance. I'm also going to link to all the props that I tried below. And lastly, I want to talk about durability. This is a racing aircraft, and you will take risks. Fortunately, only weighing 55 grams, there isn't much energy that it can impart to an accidental target. I've bounced the Meteor off poles, trees, the ground, and picked it up unharmed every time. And while there isn't a single mark on the carbon frame here, the Firefly prop guards are very brittle and will break even after a light collision. And while this isn't what I would call safe to crash into anyone, prop guards are not, it's mostly about not marking up the walls if I crash. I've actually caught the props with my fingers on this drone, and it didn't even leave a scratch. So maybe if you're flying in a place where you don't require the prop guards, leave them off and enjoy the additional performance. The main thing I would say is if you're planning to run the prop guards, if you don't already have a stock of E6000 glue, go ahead and buy some. In fact, you might even go ahead and glue the guards before you fly so that you have that layer of flexible adhesive on the outside and it will hold the plastic together. Now, just a few small things. The Flywoo flight controller requires an external antenna for the bundled ELRS receiver, and that extends your range by a dramatic margin. I love the way that Flywoo has set up their flight controllers always, and this is just another piece of icing on the cake. I also like that this drone can be flown with or without the prop guards. During season changes like we're having right now, Colorado can become very gusty. And sometimes I go out for a flight session having looked at the wind, and I'm surprised to learn that it is much greater when I get to the location. With this drone, I'm not grounded. Also, if you ever damage the canopy, you don't have to go on the hunt for a new one, as Flywoo has provided official 3D designs that you can print at home. I just love that because FPV is a hobby and an art that many people build aircraft for themselves, and I think that it makes it way more maintainable to have those designs out there. If I had one very minor complaint about this build, it's that the motors don't come into their power band until about 60% up, so you will need to tune the hover point and possibly add some throttle expo to your liking. I'm building a full guide on tuning drones using Betaflight 2025.12, including microclass drones like this one, which is currently running Betaflight RC2. So, if you want that guide, subscribe and stay tuned. I should also say this aircraft flies wonderful with the new 2025.12 release of Betaflight and the O.21 release of Blue Jay, the ESC firmware. Just make sure that when you flash from the included O.19 to O.21 ESC firmware that you increase the power at startup on your motors just a little bit. Otherwise, you'll have stuttering on this particular build. What's the verdict? If you're looking for a cinematic park flyer with the capability for more freestyle, this is the one for you. It's durable, powerful, and with the O4 Air unit, capable of capturing up to 4K 60 video, and that's something that you simply can't beat, especially how clean it is out of the box. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back again with another video in the coming weeks. Until then, stay safe, stay in the air, and stay curious.